Very good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to the European Outlook for Monday, the 24th of August. No, it's actually the 25th of August. I do beg your pardon. But we are going to discuss the summer of 2025, the recap and the score. So let's get right into it here. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. There was the winter thoughts back in yesterday's video, and then the Euro Outlook as well as the Tropical Outlook back on Saturday. So continuing to drive content here, unique, unbiased, unhyped weather content 7 days a week. So we are obviously drawn to a close another summer season with the help of Hurricane Erin. That was once a Cat 5. That is driving some warmth into the UK. High pressure and warmth will be replaced likely by some unsettled conditions to bow out August and meteorological summer. August was, in fact, a pretty up and down month, and probably the most up and down of the three meteorological months of summer, and that has been largely driven by what has taken place within the tropics. Will September continue to get driven by the tropics through the middle latitude pattern, or will we see something different? Stay tuned. I will deliver the September outlook towards the end of this working week. So it's been quite a remarkable summer in terms of the prediction, as well as warm and dry for the most part, especially across southern areas of the UK. More changeable the further west north you go, and that is fairly typical. So you can click on this link here that has been left on the article for the actual summer forecast, exactly what was said back on the 25th of May. This is the ideas that I had back at the end of May. So cooler, wetter northwest, warmer, drier the further south and east you go, the deeper into the continent you go. And my only slight niggle, my hunch was, and it was actually not until after producing this little graphic that I thought maybe that black line should be forced a little bit more northwards towards the northern half of Scotland, perhaps even more towards the far west of Ireland here. This, in fact, was actually what took place, by the way. So we had quite a deep trough over Greenland, strong ridge of high pressure centered over Biscay. This was obviously the 500 millibar geopotential heights for the entire summer. So, well, I say that, it's up until the 21st of August anyway. 1st of June through the 21st of August, that is how the upper level pattern looked. So, that is the prediction. That is how it looked. In my opinion, let's get to an excerpt from the forecast. In my opinion, when looking at past, so this is obviously what was said back in the 25th of May regarding the upcoming summer season. When looking at past dry springs, remember we had a record dry as well as warm spring. There's no definitive evidence supporting either hot and dry or cool and wet. It's a bit of a guess. However, combining record warm SSTAs, sea surface temperature anomalies, particularly just west of Europe here, this was back in May, remember, dry ground widely and a neutral ENSO, and likely slightly busier than normal Atlantic hurricane season. It points to a highly volatile, varied and potentially extreme summer of weather swings. 2015-2020 comes to mind. Now, based on that statement, 2015 and 2020 was highly variable in terms of extremes. We've seen extreme spells of cool, wet, warm, dry. And while I didn't think we would see the cool wet just to the same extent, I thought we would see more warmer, drier. We would still have variability within the overall summer. Just wanted to explain that a little bit. The unusually warm surrounding waters compared to normal and dry ground support some notable heat surges and Spanish plumes. So basically, warm water surrounding the UK and Ireland, and the dry ground initiated by the very dry spring would likely herald some significant heat surges, but also a recipe for severe flash floods, especially in the form of thunderstorm activity. A couple of lengthy hot and dry spells is expected, along with equally low pressure dominance to lean towards a low to the northwest, high to the southeast, on the whole with fluctuation in between. There's past evidence suggesting a drought summer for a large swathe of the continental European continent, possibly extending into England with that early stratospheric warming as shown in the tweet from the World Climate Service. So basically saying that there would be evidence to support a drought summer in 2025, especially for the near continent, France, Low Countries, but extending into England was quite possible this year. With cooler eastern tropical Atlantic, my hunch is that the Azores high could be stronger than normal through the first half of summer, with frequent northward extension in June. At the peak of this summer's heat, I think 38, 40, locally 42 possible for France, including north of France, 34 to 36 for the southeast of England, 28 to 30 widely in England and Wales and Low Countries, possibly 30, 31 Celsius into the Scottish borders. The key points that I made back at the end of May for this summer was warmer, drier spells compared to last year. Remember, it was the coolest summer since 2015 for the UK last year. Chance of hot and dry periods in each of the 3 summer months, potentially turning more unsettled through mid to late season. Long, hot, dry summer likely for much of Central and Mediterranean Europe, wetter Balkans and southeast. Coolest, wettest Iceland, northwestern UK and Ireland, drier further south and east. The verdict, so this was what I predicted. Warmer than normal for much of Europe, except the northwest. Wetter than normal for Iceland, Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwestern Republic of Ireland, southern Norway, Sweden and southeastern Europe. Drier than average. Much of Central and Western Europe, including much of England, Wales, southeast Republic of Ireland. So basically warmer and drier southern UK extending into the near continent here. What happened? Well, this is the upper heights as explained. This is the temperature anomalies for the last 10 days of May through June, July, and through the first 21 days of August. So you can see here warmer Scandinavia, UK, Ireland, Germany, Low Countries, France, and right across the south of Europe. The argument could be that it was warmer and somewhat to an extent perhaps drier. Now you can see here this is the rainfall anomalies for the same 90-day period as the temperatures that are shown above. You can see here generally drier across the bulk of England, Wales, away from northwest Wales, northern England, southern Scotland, northern Scotland. Here we've got this slice of drier than average through central Highland, for example. Much of Ireland was wetter than average, including Northern Ireland. This is the ideas that I had versus what actually took place in the upper heights. And if you want to be ultra critical, perhaps warmer than predicted for the northwest UK, with higher pressure in the means further north. Obviously variability week by week, month by month through the summertime, but this was obviously the period 1st of June through the 21st of August. And you can see here quite clearly that the high pressure was further north over the UK than expected. So these seasonal forecasts are always focused mainly on UK and Ireland here. As predicted, it turned out to be overall warmer than average summer for with wetter northwest, drier southeast of the UK. So that was, as predicted, pretty good call. With warmer further south and east, you went hotter, drier into the near continent as well as central and southern Europe. There was a cooler, wetter period. While it was hot and dry for most part across Europe, especially France and Iberia, there was a cooler weather period in the heart of summer for central areas of Europe, and a relaxation of the heat across Spain, Portugal, France, Germany, and through the Med. So, like I say, I am going to pick holes in certain aspects that I think I got perhaps a little bit wrong, and so I'm trying to be as transparent, as unbiased as I possibly can with the forecast. But generally speaking, I think, albeit we did see some surges of heat through each of the 3 summer months, in all but mixed with a mix of high and low pressure here. The mention of a drought summer proved correct with warm, high pressure feedback. So this is how the continent looked in a drought monitor side of things here during April. You can see here a very dry UK as well as a good part of Ireland into the near continent in particular. That is what made me think that we would have some significant heat. When you've got dry ground, you've got less evaporation from soil into the atmosphere, and therefore the heating of the sun goes more directly in the heat in the air as opposed to evaporating. This is how it looks then at the beginning of August. So you can see here that we worsened the drought situation across many areas of the UK, particularly so across England, but even eastern England and also Scotland is in alert mode now in terms of dryness. So that's quite interesting. Let's have a breakdown month by month. What was said versus what took place. So for the month of June, potentially the driest of the 3 months, with a lengthy high pressure period, above average temperatures, below average rainfall for much of Western and Central Europe, including the UK and Ireland. The month could commence unsettled, but a change to more settled heading towards the 10th, with a peak of warm dry between the 10th and the 20th of June. You can see here the details. You can check that out at your leisure. I'm not going to go through each and every figure here because it just takes a little bit too long. This is exactly what took place. Deep low near Iceland, strong ridge over the Mediterranean with a battle in between. Frequent spells of heat lifting northwards produced England's warmest June on record. This is temperature anomalies for the month of June. And basically what took place, very unsettled June for most away from the south and east of England, where it was the hottest on record. There was a deep trough over Iceland, strong ridge over the Med, with battle in between. As I say, heat was persistent and record-breaking near the core of the ridge, but frequent heat extended up through France, Low Countries into the southern UK. Generally speaking, Ireland, Northern Ireland and Scotland got away with it during the month of June in terms of heat. While heat dominated the near continent, there was one notable push around the 19th, 21st of June, with a 43.2 recorded in Spain, 41 Portugal, 37 France, 33 at London Kew Gardens, while Ireland recorded its warmest day since 2018, with Roscommon just shy of 30 Celsius. And then we did see Spain and Portugal's hottest June day on record. Moving on to the month of July then. So June played out not bad. As for the month of July, this was what was forecast. Another somewhat mixed month with back and forth pressure swings containing decent summer warmth, with a lot of warmer than average fuel in the surrounding seas. Thunderstorms could be lively with frequent lightning, gusty winds and hailstorms, with flash flooding an issue, especially to end a 10-day hot spell, cooler, wetter and windier for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but not without some warm to hot days. And again, the figures here relatively close to what actually took place. Again, do check out this article and you can see the finer details here. But generally speaking, July, yeah, there was elements where didn't get to see just quite as much wet and windy weather and cooler conditions further west and north. We also didn't see flash floodings and thunderstorms just as much as perhaps was suggested. This is the actual upper level geo potential heights for the month of July. And you can see here much further displaced, northward displaced high pressure zone and more troughiness over Central Europe, which is quite interesting. This was the temperature anomalies. So you can see here with the trough over Central Europe, that was where we've seen closer to average, even slightly below average temperatures in the central regions of Europe. Very warm Norway, Sweden and Finland. UK and Ireland equally very warm. Not quite as warm perhaps as Scandinavia. But a mixed month with high and dry, giving way to thundery spells and low pressure. The mean ridge shifted, like I say, further north compared to June, providing the longest summery period for more northern areas of the UK and Ireland, as well as Iceland and Scandinavia, where an astonishing heat wave occurred. We also seen 5 stations in Scotland record its warmest day on record. Somewhat more unsettled across Spain, Portugal, France and Central Europe. Again, like June, multiple days exceeding 30 Celsius across England, more widely across England compared to June. Maximum temperatures 35.8 in England, 33 Wales, 32.2 in Scotland and 30 Celsius in Northern Ireland. Moving on finally to the month of August then. So this was what was said. Depending upon the MJO position strength and tropical activity in the Atlantic Basin, we could see everything in the month of August with major heat surges and or lengthy hot and dry spells due to recurving tropical cyclones reinforcing the high over Europe, but also some lows generating unseasonably cool, wet and windy days. Timing of the high and low virtually impossible to say, but highly variable month is possible. So this is the prediction for August that was back in the end of May. So not a bad call really when you think about it. Again, these figures and a couple of pieces of information here you can check out. This is the 500 millibar geopotentials for the month of August in through the 20th. You can see here much more high pressure dominating UK and Ireland here, which is interesting. So you see here the overall shifting month by month with the ridge and the trough. This is the temperature anomalies for the month of August so far. So what took place? Another largely warmer and drier than average month for the majority of the UK as well as Ireland. Like June and July, we saw heat wave conditions for most. So there's your heat wave and hot spell for each of the 3 months as was predicted. Temps again exceeded 30 Celsius in the southeast, but also further north again, where we observed the hottest August temperatures since 03 for northern England and Scotland, which is quite interesting. Further record or even all-time record heat was achieved across parts of Spain, Portugal and France. Many stations shattering their records for monthly as well as all-time. So ahead of the 10th through 18th hot spell for most of the UK and Ireland, the month started stormy with record wind gusts and low pressure courtesy of Storm Florence. A mixed month driven by Atlantic tropical activity. So like June and July, there was a cycle of low and high pressure. Warm, cool, dry and wet, but the constant lean towards warmer and drier compared to average. So to summarize, so maximum temperatures will be confirmed at the end of this month. But to overall summarize, all in all, despite the usual variation at times, summer 25 was very warm and largely dry for most of the UK and Ireland. Sure, it had mixed spells with cooler, wetter days, but high pressure and warmth was never too far away and always made a sharp comeback each of the 3 months of summer. The dry spring sure played a significant role in the level of heat and persistency of that heat throughout the course of the summer. While we did see relatively isolated flash flood events, if I was to fault the forecast, it would be that I thought we would see more in terms of flash flooding and thunderstorm activity, especially given the level of warmth in our surrounding waters and at times the amount of heat within the atmosphere. Iberia and France has likely witnessed its hottest summer, with heat records tumbling throughout the season despite some cooler, wetter periods. So Italy, Greece, Turkey, up into the Balkans has witnessed quite a variable summer, but when hot, it was really hot, and this was firmly anticipated in my prediction. So you can let me know in the comments section below what you think of this overall verdict. So I've scored myself another 8.5 out of 10. That was the score for last summer, in fact. And in the last 15 years of long-range prediction, this has been probably the most persistent, accurate period of summer forecasts. So 23, 24 and 25 since I began back in 2010 in terms of the summer forecast at least. So I'd be curious to know what you think. I think it's been a pretty good forecast overall. There's always going to be some little not so good moments, but I think overall I'm very, very content with how this summer has panned out in terms of the prediction. So hope you're enjoying the content. I will be chatting to you from Copenhagen, all being well, tomorrow, so stay tuned for that, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. It would be greatly appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and bank holiday Monday at that. Bye bye.